Okay, welcome to the show. This is Ted Talks Too Much, and we've got another great one for you today. I am Ted Moss, ex-dump truck driver, stand-up comedian, and your host. We are located in the OK Boomer Studios, just outside of Flint, Michigan. That's right, Flint. The city where the sheriff actually marched with the protesters while they're still waiting to get some clean water. While we all wait for that to happen, let's talk. And on today's show, we got part 2 of Mr. Billy Ray Bauer. He's going to share some thoughts about growing up in a tough town, fighting with other kids, what it means to be famous in the world of comedy, and much, much more. So for all that, we'll be back right after this. Okay, before we start the show today, I wanted to share a thought with you. And that is, as the years pass, hopefully you won't just get older, but you'll get wiser. And you'll come to find that wisdom is not found in the acquisition of additional truth, but instead in understanding and accepting that there are truths that you do not hold. So with everything that's going on, take a moment, try and understand that these people too are speaking truth. And with that, we'll get back to the show. We hope you enjoy it. Okay, on today's show, we got part 2 with Mr. Billy Ray Bauer. He's going to talk a little bit about growing up in a tough neighborhood, about what he's learned from working with comics like Tim Allen and Louie Anderson. Also, some other thoughts on what it's like to be a stand-up comedian and on the road for 3 decades. But he's very entertaining. Let's give an OK Boomer Studio welcome once again to Billy Ray Bauer.
I discovered sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Oh, man. Well, I grew up, the area where I grew up was a pretty crazy area. There was a lot of drugs. I grew up in an area where you had to be careful, like just choosing your path to go to school.
Oh,
because
you knew this at what age?
Even in kindergarten, you knew there were kids. See, because where I lived was right on the edge of East Detroit, and it was a better area. As you got closer, as you went west towards Shaner, it was a lot of rental housing and a lot of kids that came from broken families, and
they're just tough kids.
Oh, yeah. I thankfully, see, I was always big for my age. I was always tall, so I was able to hold my own. I didn't get beat up.
Yeah, well, you probably weren't the target either if you were big.
No.
See, I was always small for my age. I got put in school almost a year too early. Mm-hmm. I weighed 49 pounds in 3rd grade.
Oh, yeah, you were little.
And in 7th grade...
I'd beat your ass.
Yeah, I'd outrun you. I'd probably have some smart-ass thing to say before I left.
That would have been your defense, is to run away.
Well, you did. Sometimes you ran, sometimes you fight. Well, it all depends on the situation.
I just grew up at a time when, and I don't know how many times you've watched a movie or a sitcom where a kid is confronted by a bully, and their parents are, you shouldn't fight, or you shouldn't do this or that. Well, I was in junior high school, and there was this kid who was very slow. He was not a bright kid.
Was he learning disabled, or what we used to call retarded?
No, his older brother actually was.
Yeah, I know that's inappropriate, but that's what he used to say.
Well, we call it special ed. That's what they call it, special ed.
We called it retarded in my...
Well, and retarded, the term retarded
and it wasn't a negative...
Yeah, didn't have the same connotation.
No, it just meant they were slow.
So this kid was a big bully, and he was much bigger than most of the other kids in 7th grade. And I remember one day, for whatever reason, he would pick out kids to pick on for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So one day, I'm getting a drink out of the drinking fountain at school, and he comes up behind me, he pushes me, and he chipped my tooth. And I turned around. Now, before I even knew who it was, I said something like, fucker, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, after school.
Yeah.
We're going to fight after school. So all day long, I'm freaking out that this kid's going to want to fight with me.
Yeah.
Well, I have my friend, my buddy, Renato. He was Italian. Renato Sardi was his name. And he was big. He was as big as this kid that was bullying me.
Yeah.
And he said, don't worry, I'll walk home with you. No worries. So we're walking home. Sure enough, this kid comes up. Wade comes up behind me and slams me from behind. Knocks me over.
Yeah.
My buddy Renato runs across the street.
What?
Yeah.
He left you? He booked?
He pussied,
what?
yeah.
No. No.
So it was just like, I was just like Ralphie in A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
With the bully. This kid pushed me, so I picked myself up. And I remember I made fists with both my hands, and I said, I might get my ass kicked, but I ain't going down easy.
Yeah.
And I went after this kid. I must have punched him about 10 times in the face, and he backed off, and he was my butt. I was no longer a kid to be picked on. Yeah. And it was kind of cool because none of the other kids would pick on me after that. The structure in school, they can't advise a kid to stick up for himself. They can't do that anymore. It's not politically correct.
You need a parent to tell them to do that.
Yeah, it's got to come from
you do it, and
parents.
I'll back you up.
Yeah,
because it's been going on.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's gotten so that you can't really defend yourself any longer.
Well, there's mean people out there too. And you got to do something, and your kids got to go to the schools.
And parents are different than they used to be. They'll stick up for their kid even when their kid's wrong, man. When I was a kid...
Well, that's true. My dad used to kick my ass if I got in trouble.
I'd get my butt kicked. I grew up in a neighborhood where if you did something that the neighbor didn't think you should be doing, he would punish you. And then if your dad found out that you did something that the neighbor punished you for, then you get your butt kicked again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not kidding. You didn't even have to be wrong either.
Yeah. And I have to say, we talked earlier, my dad was not a mean guy. He probably spanked me maybe a half a dozen times over a childhood, but he was not... he wasn't the kind of guy who I was afraid of that he was going to go off on me. He never really advised me to fight so much, but he just told me and I don't know what exact terms he used, but more or less, just don't take crap from people. If you take crap from people, you'll continue to take crap from people. The last real fight I had in my life, I was about 19, 20. I think I was 20.
That's too old to fight because you can hurt people at 19, 20.
I hurt this guy.
Yeah.
I went out. I was doing, this was back when we had our family business. I was doing a service call, and I had gone out to this guy's house. This was back when they had tubes in television.
Yeah, I remember that. You could take them out and test them.
So I went to this guy's house, and he had a problem with the set, and I put a couple tubes in there, and I told his wife, I said, if this doesn't solve it, it's going to be a more serious problem, and I'm probably going to have to take the thing back to the shop to do what I got to do. So, of course, they called back and said, yeah, it's doing it again. So I go back out to the house, and I'm prepared to get, I came out there with the idea that if it goes south, I'll just give them their money back. So I get there, and the guy is home, and he'd been drinking, and he started insulting me, and
because his TV didn't work?
Because it was still a problem. And I told him, I can't fix it here. I got to take it in. It's going to run X amount of dollars. No, you're not. You're not taking the TV anywhere, he says. And he says, and I want my money back. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I'll be happy to give you your money back. I said, I left the 2 tubes that I put in here on top of the TV. Where are they? I'll
take those back
I'll put yours back
in
there, and I'll give you your money back. Well, he had thrown the tubes out. They were gone. But he still wanted his money back. I told him, I said, well, you got...
Then you got to buy the tubes.
I said you can't. I said you're going to have to pay for the. I said I can't give you your money back if you can't give me the old tubes to put it back.
Yeah, because you aren't going to buy tubes for free.
He got real close to me. He ripped the pocket off my shirt.
No.
And then he slugged me, and he hit me just below the eye in the cheek. Well, unfortunately for him,
you had been slugged before.
He was about 5'8", 5'9".
Why would he do that?
I'm like 6'2". And I had taken karate for about 2 years. and I just beat the living snot out of him.
Oh, God.
I had him on the floor. I was punching him.
Why? Why would he do that?
It was stupid. It's like he hit me his best shot, and I just looked at him. I go, that was stupid, dude.
Bad move.
Bad move. And so I'm punching him while, we were kind of fighting like in a normal fight. And I hit him a few times. Yeah. And then he turtled on me. He went to the floor, and I got on top of him, and I'm punching him in the face.
Just ducking. He's trying to cover up.
I'm just pummeling this guy.
Oh, God.
And finally, I go, the fight's over, you're done. Because, I had beaten him up to the point where he wasn't defending himself any longer. Yeah. He scurries away. His wife yells at me, you better run, because he's going into the bedroom to get his gun.
Oh, God. God.
I left my tools there and everything. I left the house. The next thing you know, the cops show up at my shop where I work, my family's business.
With your tools?
No, they didn't have my tools at this point, but they had been called by this couple.
Why?
They claimed that I started the fight. They claimed.
Why would you go over to a customer's and punch a customer?
Well, then they claimed that I started this fight. So the cop comes in and he goes, I just have one question. Did you throw the first punch? I said, no. The guy, I told him what happened.
Yeah.
So the guy goes, the cop says, all right. He goes, I'm not going to take you in. My brother ended up going over there with the cops to get the tools. But the funny thing is the cop, he was a lieutenant. Sterling Heights Police Department. He says to me, he pulls me aside. He goes, just between you and me. A couple of years ago, I was in a bar having a drink, and there was this drunken asshole. And he took a poke at me, and he punched me, and I didn't do anything. He goes, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for a month. He goes, I'm glad you beat the shit out of this guy. He goes, when we went out to his house, he was an asshole. I go, yeah, he was an asshole to me from the minute he got there. I said, I knew he'd been drinking. I knew he'd been drinking. Well, then we get letters from his attorneys. In his letters, he claimed that not only did I beat his ass, but I threw his wife into a fireplace.
Oh, God.
And his child was so traumatized that the child couldn't leave the house for the next 3 years or some such nonsense.
Yeah.
So my brother, who pissed me off during this, because he basically just wanted to settle it. So our insurance company sent an agent out, and they're talking to me, and they tell us, no, we're just going to settle. We're just going to settle with this guy.
And you're like, no.
And I'm going, no, we should be suing him.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. Well, long and the short of it is a few months later, we get another threatening letter from this attorney. So we call up the insurance agent. We go, what's going on? They go, we went over there and interviewed, and we're not giving them a cent.
Once they met him.
Yeah, once they talk to the guy, they go, this guy's an asshole.
He's a dick.
Yeah, he's an asshole. We ain't doing shit for this guy. When I was a kid, back when I was probably about 15 or 16, a buddy of mine and I were, there was a carnival. Remember when they used to have these traveling carnivals, and they'd show up in like the
they'd
parking lot of
and they'd set up for a week, and then they'd be gone.
Kmart or whatever. And they'd set up. So we were heading over to this carnival, me and my buddy Randy, and we're walking through the field heading over towards this carnival. And this kid, this dirty, skinny kid, confronts us. He starts pushing me. He wants to fight. So I don't even know who this kid was.
Keep going.
So, we're trying to just go do this carnival thing. We're not interested in fighting, but this guy's pushing me, and he wants to fight. So I'm going to fight this kid because I don't think there's any way around fighting this kid. So we start pushing back and forth, and next thing you know, he produces a knife, and he wants to knife fight with me. And of course, I don't have a knife, right?
What?
So we take off, right? We take off, and we run towards the carnival.
How old are you?
I'm probably 15.
Oh God!
So I run towards this carnival. And it's at the parking lot of, it was a department store called Arlen's. It was.
Oh, I remember Arlen's.
Yeah, they were like a Kmart.
Yeah.
So I go into the lobby of Arlen's, and there's a security guard there, and I tell him there's a kid with a knife out here.
Right.
So he goes and chases this kid away. 3 or 4 years later, I hear on the news that this kid, his name was Rick Siebert, he went on a killing spree, killed like 8 people
Oh, no.
He went on a rampage through like 8 states.
Oh, my God.
Killed 8 people.
He would have stabbed you.
Oh,
he
yeah.
would have killed you.
Oh, yeah, he would have. He would have. In my neighborhood where I grew up, they all know who this kid is, this Rick Siebert. His whole family was messed up. The old man, their father was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He was just a bad kid. He was a grubby kid. And I'll tell you, without the knife, I'd have beat the hell out of him. Because he was a skinny, dirty fuck. He was just nothing. But, he pulled a knife on me, and I did the right thing, got the hell out of there.
Yeah, that is the right thing. I was driving home from my girlfriend's when I was about 30, and I was single. And it was late at night. Had to be like midnight, 1 a.m., down an old road out in the middle of nowhere. And I had a brand new car. It wasn't a great car. It was like a Mazda 626, but it was brand new. I mean, it was like 2 weeks old. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the road, there's a kid standing in the middle of the road. I have got to swerve to not hit a kid. And it's like the middle of the night in the country. And as I do, he throws a handful of rocks at my car.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
Like, what the? Are you kidding me? Why would he do that? Well, at the time, I was a single guy, and I was running the bars in Flint. So I had the bigger half of a pool cue under my seat because I'm from Flint.
Yeah, you're from Flint.
So I'm going to go back, and we're going to have a conversation. I don't care who you are, and you big, small. And I drive back, and the kid looks like he's like 14 years old. He doesn't look to be any more than 5'2", 5'4", just a short little Mexican kid. And I'm thinking, okay, 30-year-old man with a pool stick, middle of the night beats up a 14-year-old kid. I said, this can't be good. So I slow way down, but I keep going. I don't stop and confront him, but I get a good look at him. And I see a cop's got somebody pulled over. And so I go up and wait for the cop to get done with his ticket he's given this car or whatever. And I say, look, this is weird, but a kid standing in the middle of the road just threw a handful of rocks at my car. He said, you're kidding me. And he shines his flashlight, and there's all these scratches in my car. And I said, yeah, this is brand new. This just happened. He's just down there right now. So the cop goes down there, and we confront the kid, and the kid just goes, I didn't do anything, does that typical thing. And I'm standing like 2 feet away from him, and it's the same kid that I drove back by. I mean, there's nobody else out there. It's the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's not even homes near. And it's this Mexican kid who has this thing where his ears stick straight out. Just really strange ears on the kid. It's that which made him unique, and that's important for later in the story. But in any case, the cop talks to me and says, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to prosecute him. I don't care. I want whatever you can do to this kid to have him pay for it. I got insurance going to cover it, but still, it's never going to be the same. It was a brand new car, and somebody's got to teach this kid. You can't just vandalize shit. Yeah. People are going to get after you. And I'm not beating his ass, but we're going to do something. And he says, okay. Well, 3 weeks later, I get a call. He said, good news, bad news, I guess. We're not prosecuting that kid. And I said, why? So we just picked him up for murder. That he actually, him and his buddy had flagged down a car of a local kid, murdered him, threw him in the trunk, and went joyriding in the car. And so they're going to have a murder trial, and then they dumped the body or whatever, abandoned the car. I can't remember what the story was, but so he's going to be tried for murder, and so we aren't worried about vandalism at this point.
No, murder and vandalism.
A double trial.
And not only that, I saw him throw a McDonald's cup out the window of the car.
The bad part is that, like 2 months later, I get called by the prosecutor, said, we want you to come in and testify. I said, about what? He said, about the kid that threw rocks at your car. Because I said, well, he's getting tried for murder. He said, yeah, we're prosecuting him, but he's bringing in all these witnesses saying what a good kid he is. And so I said, I don't want anything to do with it. Well, they said, we'll subpoena you unless you do it. Yeah. And I said, fine, I'll do it. I don't want to take time off work. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to be there. So I go there, and I'm standing there, and he walks right by me on the way in. They got handcuffs off him. They just walk him into the court. I think that's kind of weird, and I recognized him because his ears were sticking on it. And I said to the guy next to me, oh, that's that kid, isn't it? Is that kid? Yeah, that's him, isn't it? And I'm kind of doing that with because I hadn't seen him in months, and I saw him in the middle of the night, three times briefly. And turns out the guy I'm saying this to is actually the investigator for the defense.
Oh.
Yeah, so bad guy to be going, I don't know if that's him or not. So I go in there and I take the stand, and they start saying, well, you got something against him, or you hate the family. I said, I'm not even from around here. I didn't know the kid from anything. And so here I am at a murder trial going, he threw rocks at my car. And I feel like a total idiot, and all his relatives are sitting there with no shirts on and black leather jackets staring at me like they're going to murder me when I get in the parking lot. And I'm like, I just want to get out of here, dude.
Well, I think your priorities are correct. I mean, let's face it, murder's one thing, but my car.
Yes. And then actually he was convicted, but it turned out that they didn't put not guilty on the ballot. They didn't have a box to check for not guilty or whatever. And so he had a mistrial, so they had to bring him out and retry him.
Jeez.
But luckily I didn't have to go in and testify about my car situation. I felt like an asshole.
Jury duty is the worst.
I was on a double murder jury where there was 2 juries and there was 3 defendants. What a miserable way to spend a month of my life.
Well, I'm not speaking about you per se, because
well, thank God, because I'm a nice guy.
I'm not going to go that far.
No, I am. Somebody wrote it down. It's around here someplace.
No, but the point I was making is that there is a point where excess doesn't return.
Yeah.
There's no return. There's no benefit. It's interesting because we were talking earlier, and I said, a couple of years back, Tim Allen had come back into town to do a show at the Royal Oak Music Theater, and his opening act, Lowell Sanders, is another great comic and from Detroit. Yeah. Lowell had posted on Facebook that after their show that he was going to stop by the Comedy Castle. So me and a few other guys, Jeff Brand and Tim Lilly and Tim Rollins and a few other guys of the old group, the guys who knew Tim, we all went over to the Comedy Castle. We wanted to hang out with Lowell for a while. So we were talking with Lowell for a few minutes. Sure enough, Tim comes walking in.
Yeah.
So I'm talking with Tim Allen, and he come up, and he was really nice, and I was really surprised that he remembered me, and, had
that's
a hug,
pretty cool, though.
Kind of hugged, and, he's like, how you doing? And I said, I'm doing good. He goes, so are you busy? I go, yeah, I'm as busy as I've ever been. He goes, you still, traveling around doing stand-up? I go, yeah. I go, I'm traveling all over the country. I got back from Vegas. I'm going to Florida. I'm doing this. I go, it's got to be great where you're at. He goes, not me. He goes, I'd rather be where you're at. He goes, to be honest with you, he goes, I'm a corporation. He goes, I got 14 people who depend on me for their life. He goes, let me ask you something. He goes, if you wanted to go play golf tomorrow, could you go play golf tomorrow? I go, I am going to go play golf tomorrow. He goes, not me. He goes, I would have to make some phone calls, and I'd have to check with somebody, a secretary.
Isn't that funny?
And find out when I'm available. He goes, and I might be able to play golf in a few weeks. He goes, and if I want to go out to the store, he goes, could you imagine if I went into a Home Depot? He goes, I would be mobbed if I went into a Home Depot.
That's the thing about being famous.
That's the fame thing. And
fame is actually not a benefit only in getting jobs, but fame is actually I don't want to say it's a punishment, but it holds you back. There's all these things you can't do if you're famous.
Well, and you feel you're not anonymous. You can't do anything just for yourself and not have to worry about what it might look like.
Now, you got to get recognized sometimes.
Once in a while, but I'm definitely anonymous. I worked with Louie Anderson last year.
Oh, cool.
At the Castle. And Louie was a sweetheart of a guy.
Is he?
But here's a guy, he's 65, just quit smoking because he's having heart problems. He's about 400 pounds.
Is he that big?
He's very, very big.
Holy shit.
And while he's on stage, he's sweating the whole time. And I was talking to him through the weekend. And again, the very same theme that came up when I was talking with Tim Allen came up with Louie. And the notion is, don't envy me. Louie has 2 TV shows on it right now, Baskets and some other show that he's involved with. And his life, because of his weight and his age and his health, is basically, he lives in Vegas. He does shows when he's physically able to, does his 2 TV shows, but other than that, he's a recluse in his house and really can't do anything. I go out, I'm 63 years old. I go out every day and walk because I know that's the kind of exercise that I can do every day that I can get away with without ruining my health in attempting to gain it. It's like, I tell people, I says, you know what? I gave up my Planet Fitness membership when I realized that I was getting more exercise cleaning the equipment after I'd used it than from when I actually used the equipment.
Exactly. I had a deaf girlfriend, so I had to learn how to talk like that to communicate to her friends.
Sure she was deaf, or she didn't just like to hear the shit you were saying?
No, she was totally deaf. I took her home and introduced her to my mom after I was dating her for a while. And people aren't used to being around people that are deaf. And I mean, they're exactly the same as you, except they're deaf. That's the only their grammar is a little bit different because they don't get a lot of practice. They don't write as well because they don't get a lot of practice in the English language. But other than that, there's nice ones, mean ones, happy ones, fat. I mean, they're just like everybody else. So she's a really nice girl. I take her over to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, this is Janice. Janice, and I have to look at Janice and keep my chin up when I talk to her because she reads lips really well. Janice, this is my mom. And Janice is like, nice to meet you, Miss Moss. You know, she's doing her best, saying hello. And I swear to God, my mom is like, nice to meet you, Janice.
Of course, that's what everybody does when somebody's hard of hearing. I'm going to yell loud.
Oh, you cured her. Who knew? It was just a problem with volume. Good job, Mom. I'm like, Mom, just move your lips. You don't even have to
you don't even have to say anything.
Yeah. It was weird. You know what? This is back before cell phones and all texting, which I'm sure helps deaf people now. But I would have to call her up to ask her out. I'd have to talk to her brother. And her brother would get her in the room. And so I would say, what you doing today? He wants to know what you're doing today. And the brother's like 14. He is not interested. I should make a comedy bit about it. But it was really weird.
Well, you know, everything that you do as a comedian, you know, they tell you that, it's funny. There's just different schools of comedy thought. But the idea is, and I subscribe to this, and that is, you talk about things you actually know about.
Yeah.
It has to ring true. If you start wandering off into a topic or a subject and you're really not fully aware of everything that you need to know, you're going to come out looking really stupid.
And if you're making up shit.
Yeah, if you're making things up, people are going to figure that out. So one of the rules in comedy is it's got to be true. And it's funny, I was just watching one of those Jerry Seinfeld episodes with the comedians in cars getting coffee, and he says, no, it's all made up. It's just made up. It's just made up stuff. And it's like, well, it depends. Nah, you know, it can, for his brand of comedy, perhaps he can use that as his
well, he animates things that aren't animated.
Well,
you know, the cookie's talking to him or something.
My comedy comes out of, all of it comes from my life. All of it. You know, there are some exceptions. You know, I write jokes because I enjoy writing jokes.
Right.
You know, I love the format of writing jokes. It's a little skill set that I like. Oh,
right.
Wait, I got to check something. My son just sent me a message. He's ordering food from Mickey D's or Nicky D's, which is a Coney Island. If I want anything, I'm just going to put, I'll get something on my way back because I'm going to need to eat because I haven't eaten since this morning. So,
well, I'm certainly not going to feed you, not for this interview. I just use that thing where you can call and they bring stuff to your door.
You know what?
That Uber Eats or whatever the hell it is.
The trouble with DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub.
Yeah, DoorDash. That's what I use.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
They take way too much of the money. It isn't going, if you don't tip the person who actually brings it to you, that person's not making very much money.
Well, you actually tip on your phone.
I get that. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that DoorDash has a deal with the restaurant and they get a piece of the action.
Oh, I bet they do. Well, they should. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Well, up to a point. The problem I have is that's not part of the local economy any longer. And the guy that is part of your local economy is now going to make less money getting that food delivered to you.
Yeah.
Now, you could argue, well, that's money he wouldn't have made because you got it delivered. You wouldn't have gone there to get it. But I can tell you this, that where I live, I have about half a dozen restaurants that are within 2 or 3 miles of my house that are all locally owned. And I do business with them, and I'll do carry out. I pick it up myself.
Yeah.
My sons are much more likely to use DoorDash or something that. My
kids are too.
I don't mind paying for a delivery if it's an in-house delivery because that way the money stays in the local economy. But I got to tell you, I did Uber for a very short period of time.
I did it one day.
I did it
and lost my ass. I thought, this is silly.
I did it for 2 weeks and I got really angry. Like, I would take somebody to the airport from Birmingham. I'd drive over to Birmingham, pick up somebody and drive them for an hour to the airport.
Yeah.
Get to the airport. Now, I'm thinking naively that,
they're going to give you a $10, $20 tip.
Well, or that there's going to be somebody at the airport who needs a ride out of the airport back home, right? So
yeah.
No, they have something called Uber Black, which is these upscale Uber. They are big SUV drivers.
Actually, my car qualified. I actually got to be the upscale Uber.
You could be the Uber guy. Now, here's the thing. So I go down to the airport, and there's a Speedway gas station where all the car parking lots are on the other side of the freeway there. There was at least a half a dozen Uber drivers sitting there with their laptops waiting to pick up all the people from the airport. I took probably during the couple weeks I did Uber, I probably picked up maybe 4 or 5 people and took them to the airport. And not once was I ever able to get somebody to drive back. So when you're doing Uber, I'm getting paid to drive down there, but I'm getting nothing for an hour drive I got to make back. And I'll tell you, the worst experience I had with Uber, one night I was in, and every day I would drive people to Royal Oak from where I live, Sterling Heights.
Well, that's a good drive.
It's a good drive, and everybody wants to go to Royal Oak. So I'm in Royal Oak. I drop some people off, and I get a hit a couple blocks over that somebody needs a ride. So I go over there. There's a cop car sitting there with the lights on. This kid gets in the car. He's crying. He's drunk, and he's crying. Huh? Him and his cousin were coming back from a wedding and got pulled over by the cops. He was the passenger. His cousin was driving, and they had him in the back of the squad car. He got arrested for a DUI, right?
Yeah.
So I got to take this kid now. This kid, he's the cousin, and I got to drive him to his aunt and uncle's house in Northville.
Yeah.
And he then is going to have to tell them, because he's crying all the way back drunk, telling me how he's got to break it to his aunt and uncle that their kid is
in jail.
In jail, right? So I take this kid home, and it's horrible, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, and I drop him off, and I'm thinking, well, I should just call it a night. Well, right there at 8 Mile and 275, there's a Meijer, and I pull into the parking lot of the Meijer, and I get a hit from the Uber app, and I'm like, oh shit, should I do this? All right, I'll do this. So I see there's a big tour bus at the far end of the parking lot, and a bunch of people are getting off the tour bus with their luggage. So I go over there, and there's 2 guys who were the guys who got a hold of me. They throw their luggage in the trunk. They barely say a word to me. They get in the car. So I go, where do you guys got to go? We've got to go to Brighton. We got to go to Brighton. It's like 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, God.
So I start driving them. I'm trying to make a little small talk with them.
It's almost an hour, isn't it?
So I'm like, you guys, where were you at? Well, we were in St. Louis. Okay. So you guys on vacation, or what was it, some kind of a tour trip? Oh, we were working. And they were being real tight-lipped.
Yeah.
Frankly, they were being kind of a bit of a dick to me.
Well, maybe they're drug dealers or something.
Oh, wait till you find out who they were. So I'm talking to them a little later. Finally, the guy slips and tells me who they are. It's the drummer and the keyboard player from Kid Rock's band.
Oh.
The guy calls himself Bones. And this other guy, I don't know who they are. They were being pretty tight-lipped, rude. Just drive.
Yeah.
Drive these motherfuckers to Brighton.
Yeah.
It's like 2:30 in the morning. They unload their shit. They don't give me a dime. Not one dime. You fucking pieces of shit. Those clowns made so much money.
Oh, yeah.
And they couldn't give me a dime.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to drive back from Brighton on my own dime because you don't get paid.
I totally get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Yeah, you don't get paid for that trip back.
No. I did it one night. That
was my last night. I said, you guys are done.
I did it one night. I was going to do it because I thought, I'll meet a lot of people. I'll probably get some comedy material out of it. It'll be interesting, the, cross section of people that I meet and run into. But I live out here in the boondocks. I mean, there's nothing. There's a little bitty town. There's nothing basically out there.
You have to go to the city to get work. Yeah,
right. And so I sign up. I get it all. I got the car right. I got something to clean up in the back, a bag in case they got to throw up in it. I got some cleaner. I got tissues. I got everything I think I need. I think I've got this figured out. So I get out and I'm like turning on. I'm waiting. Nothing's fucking happening. Nothing. I mean, I'm waiting hours. Nothing's happening. I think, well, I got to go into Flint. I got to go into Flint. That's the only thing I can do. And I know Flint. I grew up in Flint.
Yeah, so you know the area.
Yeah. And I feel safe in Flint. But quite frankly, there's places in Flint.
Oh, yeah.
You don't go in the daytime. You can go there at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. because people are sleeping.
Right.
But there's places you just freaking don't go.
Yeah, same thing with Detroit.
Yeah, but Flint is kind of small. It isn't that huge. It's not a huge city. It's only like, I don't know, 5 miles by 10 miles or something. It's not big. So I go down and I go by the airport. And I think, this is a good idea. I'll wait for a flight. I'll look at the schedule of the flight, see when they're coming in. There's not that many Ubers in Flint. And I'll pick up a ride. And sure enough, I get a ride. And it's this Asian guy. And he's coming in to go to GMI, or they call it something now, but it's the engineering school.
Yep.
Kettering. He's going to Kettering. And he's going to live in Flint. And he's going to stay here for, I don't know, 4 months or something to study something. And he gives me the address, and I'm like, oh, shit, dude, you don't want to live there. You know what I mean? It's not bad, but it's...
He clearly didn't know the area.
No, he just rented a room.
Yeah,
it's I don't know, it's like white trash, really old, soft couch on the porch, funky neighborhood, if you can imagine.
Oh, no, I know the area. Yeah.
Nothing's kept up. It's dust. And I know the section. I'm going, it's not the worst section, but it's not a good section. So on the way there, I'm going, look, I got an extra room. Do you want to rent a room? I mean, it's out of town. It costs you more to get back and forth. But, I live in a nice place, and you're a nice student kid. I hate to drop you off down there. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of bad people, and and they're gonna steal your shit, dude. It's not gonna be good. These are not ethical people, and you're transient. You're gonna be gone, so they don't give a shit.
Yeah, you're just a statistic.
Yeah, you are, and you're probably not smart enough to know how to survive in that because you haven't been around it. So, anyhow, he said, no, it's okay, we'll go. So I go, and sure enough, we get there. Guy sitting on the soft couches on the front porch, all stoned up. I'm going, oh, shit, man, you don't know what you're in. This is frickin' Flint. But I drop him off, and I go to leave. But I get another ride pops up. And on Uber, you got to say yes or no before they identify the ride. Mm-hmm. And so I say yes. And you don't want to turn them down once you say yes, because then you get bad ratings and all that shit. Right. So I think I know how to do this. Well, the name and location comes up, and I go, that name, that location, on a sunny day at noon, I would not unlock my doors. Matter of fact, if there's a red light, I'm rolling. I'm not stopping at a red light. I'm rolling into the red light because I want to make sure I'm not getting behind another car. I'm not going to get jammed in. It's one of those places. And so I turn the ride down. I think, well, this is, and I'd been doing this for hours. I had filled up my car, which cost me like, $50 or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
I've been doing this for hours. I probably made $25, maybe not use a full half tank, but something. But I've been, I'm averaging $1.50 an hour. Yeah. And I think I'm just going to go home. But I leave it turned on, and I almost get home, and I get another ride. Well, unfortunately, I didn't know there's a way you can go, I want any rides that's heading in my direction. Yeah. But I didn't do that. I just said, I'll take any ride. So I pick up a ride out in the boondocks, some young kids, and where do they want to go? They want to go down to a concert at the Palace.
Oh, yeah, that's a big ride.
But it's a traffic mess. I wouldn't go to the concert because I don't want to go through the traffic mess. Man, I'm getting the traffic mess. I'm getting the whole worst part of the deal for $7.
Oh, I know.
So I drive them all the way down. They're just stoner kids. So I'm like, and then we get there. It's stop and go. It's lined up for miles on the road turning in. Then you got to get in. Then they want to charge me for parking. I say, no, I'm Uber. I got to show them the thing. Now I'm going around the parking lot slower than shit because people are parking. I don't know where to let them out. Do you want out here? Do you want out here? And I'm just trying to fucking get home. It's just a miserable. And I drive home and I say, never again. One night I made $30. It probably cost me $26 to do it.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
What's the point?
No.
And, I'm putting wear and tear on my car. Somebody's going to jump in with a screwdriver in their back pocket and tear my seat or, something's going to happen. It's just totally not worth it.
Well, and what they lied to you. Well, you make all your money on the weekends, after midnight on Friday and Saturday. Yeah, and you know what you get after midnight on Friday and Saturday? Drunks. Yeah. Drunken idiots, and drunken people don't tip.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I took an Uber ride I was in Key West for New Year's Eve. Billy and I were down there. It was kind of cool to be in Key West for New Year's Eve. It's
that's a crazy
well,
place.
it's one of the crazy things you want to do one time kind of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it was fun to see. But, you know, after New Year's Eve, I'm done. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm done. I don't need to see any more of the craziness. I'm ready to go back and crash. Fuck, my Uber ride like 4 miles was like $50 or some
surge pricing.
Oh, like 5 times or some crazy thing. I don't know who's getting all that money.
I drove some people for a surge
now,
to a concert.
Did that pay you really well? Did you get the 5 times kind of thing?
Yeah, I did one where I drove a bunch of girls down to a concert that was down at Cobo, and I got paid like something like $70 or something to do it. So that was good. But then. Actually, I picked them up. I drove some people down there, and I got paid like $30, $40. Then I picked these girls up at the concert and drove them. They lived in Plymouth.
Oh.
And that came to like, the total bill was like $100, and I got like 70 of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, if it was like that all the time.
Trouble is it mostly wasn't. That was the exception rather than the rule.
A buddy of mine in Canada, he lives outside of Niagara Falls, and so he gets a lot of that traffic there, and he says it's really good, but he just went from Uber to Lyft.
Yeah, Lyft they say is a little nicer to deal with, but
I don't know.
They can keep any of it. I'll stick to doing what I like to do, which is to make people laugh.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, Joel does Uber or Lyft or something.
Yeah, a lot of these guys do.
Yeah, I think it's okay if you got a beat up car. I think you kind of want to start with a low grade car.
Yeah, you want a car that you're not worried about putting miles on.
And also that, you know, it's got cloth seats and or whatever. You just
I knew somebody was Ubering with a leased vehicle, and I said, "You're nuts." I said,
"What?
You can't do that." I said, "You're going to go so far over mileage, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. You can't. Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Yeah,
it's crazy."
All right. Well, listen. One last thing.
Yes, because we gotta wrap.
Yeah. One last thing. Do you have anything coming up you want to mention that is scheduled that might actually happen?
Well, here's the thing. So far as I know, I will be at the Island Casino outside of Escanaba, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula, Sunday, May 24th, which is a week from this Sunday. The booking agent called me about a week ago to tell me that it was a go.
That's great.
That the casino decided that they were going to be, and apparently all the casinos, the Indian casinos in Michigan, have all been talking to each other, and they decided that this casino would be the first one to open. They figured because of its location, because you're over near Escanaba, and you know with this COVID virus. The population in that area is pretty isolated, so the incidence of the virus is very small. But they're going to invite
you in. Well, see, that's a bad decision on their part.
I'm the danger.
You are.
The thing is, though, I've done this gig probably a dozen times at least.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful room that will hold between 300 and 400 people. The stage is about 5 feet high, and the closest people that are going to be to you are about 20 to 30 feet away.
5 feet, that's pretty high stage.
It's a tall stage.
Do you like that? I don't like tall stages.
Normally I wouldn't, but this venue, I've done it many times, and it's compared to what it was, it's much better. Used to have a stage set up inside the casino gaming area. The stage was literally in front of you was the bar. And the people who were closest to you were at the bar, and they weren't interested in the show because they were playing the embedded video poker games that were in the tables, right?
I've done that show.
And basically what you had was the bartenders were between you and the people who were sitting at the bar making drinks while the people sitting at the bar were playing video game poker there. There were tables behind that where people could sit and watch the show, but it wasn't segregated from the gaming area, so you could hear all the machines like ding, 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 and all that crap.
Oh God!
It was It was one of the toughest gigs there was. I was able to do the gig. I did it when it was in that room, probably 4 or 5 times, and the reason I was able to do it was I just focused on doing the material and not worrying about a response. Basically, I would just do the material, not worry about whether I'm getting laughs, and just keep moving. And then they use, and at the time that was part of the gaming area, and there was an adjacent room that was their pool area. They had a big pool area with slides and all that stuff. Well, probably about 7-8 years ago, they tore that down. and they turned that big pool room into a giant showroom with the stage and seating for like 300 or 400 people. And now, even though it's not ideal compared to what it was, it's fantastic.
It's a dream,
So I'm going to go. Probably my wife will probably go with me. We won't go into the casino itself at all. I won't.
You aren't a gambler?
I can. I like it, but I won't do it.
Why give all your money back? Yeah.
Well, and not only that, it's just with this whole business with the a casino is a terrible place for picking up germs. I mean, everybody's handling everything. You know? So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go in and do the show. I will be far enough away from the crowd. And normally after the show, I shake hands with people and talk to people. I won't be doing any of that. I said, I'm going to do my time. Good night, everybody. I'm going to leave the stage, and we will go up to the room. And then the next morning, we'll get the hell out of there. I said,
in and out.
Now, I've heard some stuff from that has been posted on Facebook about the possibility that they're going to ticket people who leave the casino, whether it be employees or patrons, like once you're off the reservation, so to speak, that they can pull you over and ticket you for being in a place like that. And
really?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been hearing.
Why?
Well, because you went.
It's non-essential, and
you're congregating in a non-essential area. I guess I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I'll watch for you on the news, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And I do have another casino booked in July. That one's in Maryland in the mountains.
Well, hopefully that's better.
I'm hoping too.
But either way, we might see you in the news. Billy Ray Bauer.
Thanks.
Making the news.
That's right. And you can, and for those of you interested in checking it out, my tour schedule such that it is billyraybauer.com. That's BILLYRAYBAUER. billyraybauer.com. And if you go on YouTube, I have a channel on YouTube. You can look at some videos. And if you go to iTunes or any of those platforms, I have a CD out called The View, which was recorded at Joey's in Livonia years ago.
Joey's was a great room.
It was a hot room, man. And that was a fun CD.
And we're going to link all these things in the show notes, so they'll have links, and they just click on the links, take them right to your places. So it'll be good.
Cool.
But thanks for coming in, Billy. Billy and I went golfing. It was great to golf.
It was. We didn't golf during the best part of the day.
During the rainy part of the day.
Right now, it looks gorgeous out here.
It does, but you know what? First time out, I was lucky to make it 9 holes.
You played.
It's okay. I had a few shots, but not many.
We both had the same problem. We would make a good shot and follow it up with not so great.
I got really weak at the end. It's like I lost everything at the end. I was like, I have no idea. The last 2 holes were like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going out to play Monday.
Yeah.
So I'll be out.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you coming in, Billy. You're a great guy. I appreciate all the information about stand-up comedy. I mean, how do you learn this stuff other than talk to you guys at high seniority and a lot of experience? I do appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Thanks, man.
Sharing the stories.
I hope there's some educational value to this show. I don't know what it would be.
I feel like I've been socially reformed, too, so my politics are changing.
Well, you know what? It's a complicated world we're navigating right now. That's for sure.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. We're out.
All righty.
That's our show for the day, and I want to thank Mr. Billy Ray Bauer for coming in and making it such a good one. But also, I want to mention, we in the Detroit comedy community lost somebody very special to us a couple days ago. So I want to dedicate this show to Mr. Corey Hall, one of the pillars of the comedy community, who passed away recently. He has been doing comedy locally for decades, and he will be missed by all. So I guess the message is appreciate people while you have them, because you never know. And try to be kind, and try to be happy. Until next time, I'm Ted Moss, and those are my thoughts.